Check, check, check. Let me know if you can hear me. Hey, what's up, Walker? Hey, let me know if you can hear me, man. If you can't hear me, let me know. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Sorry I'm late tonight, man. I was actually out. I was at this little Cuban restaurant. One of our listeners to the pod called me out. He was actually out there with a brother that was going through, or will be going through, a custody fight. So that became a conversation. So it actually extended. Got to drive home. Got to not drive home. Not going to speed back. But yeah, that was the conversation tonight. Yeah, man, custody is the thing. Custody is the thing. So ended up talking to the brother. Wanted to make sure we didn't, just leave him hanging to run home for Black Dads Club. But I'm here. We got two banging clips tonight that we're gonna go over. We're gonna discuss those. See how the night goes. Everybody keeps sending me Aisha Curry all week. So we're going to discuss Aisha Curry tonight, Steph Curry. My point of view might be surprising. If you've been listening to the pod long enough, though, you probably know that it won't be surprising, because I always tell y'all that women can do whatever they want to do. That is the privilege of being a human on this planet, especially in peak first world. Peak first world, kind of do whatever you want to do as a human. And then we got another clip. Let's see what the other clip is about tonight. Other clip is on feminism. Which one should I start with first? Not sure. But y'all always know I start with talent acquisition tip of the night. So I'll start there tonight. Let's start with getting hired right now, because I know that is definitely difficult. Somebody was on a job board, and they stated that you should keep a job log, like, for every job that you apply for. I don't think you got to keep a job board. I don't think, because getting hired in a low. So here's the thing: when unemployment is low, whether for real or artificially, it's actually harder to get hired when unemployment is low. And the reason for that is that all the people who should be employed are basically employed. Let me spell acquisition right here. So somebody was saying, like, oh, you should keep a job board of all the jobs you apply for. I don't agree you should keep like a spreadsheet or anything. But you should recognize, like, all the companies that you have applied for jobs for. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. I'm about to drop this in chat. Okay. So, talent acquisition tip of the night. Make sure that you keep a track of all the companies that you apply for jobs for. And the reason why you want to do that is, if you are applying, like, let's say a manufacturing company, right? And you apply for a job where you want to work in maintenance for the manufacturing company, and then you want to work in human resources for the manufacturing company, and then you want to work for sales at the manufacturing company. These companies can see all your resumes when they come in. So if you apply for the same job, and especially if you use the same email, this is actually a really good tip. You should use different emails when you apply for different jobs. But if you use the same email, that recruiter is going to see that you applied for 3 different jobs in 3 different places. All right. Now, if your skill set aligns for what that recruiter is hiring for, they may look at your resume, right? But if they see that you've applied 6 times to a company and 6 totally different job places, there's a really good chance that that recruiter is not going to take you seriously. Okay. So if you do apply for jobs, again, talent acquisition tip of the night, keep a track of the companies you apply to. I think I put applied for. That should probably say applied to. Keep a track, because if you've applied to company A 5 times for 5 different roles in 5 different departments, they're probably not going to call you. All right. So at minimum, you should be using different emails. So make sure, if you are applying for different jobs, make sure for every job that you apply for, every type of job you apply for, you're using different emails. Sometimes I know we're just trying to get into a company, right? Like if I want to get into recruiting for a company, I might apply for a sales job. I'm like, yo, I can go work sales for this company A, tech company A, and then I can move into recruiting once I've been there for 2 years. I get it. People want to get their foot in the doors, and that's actually fair, but that's not how recruiters look at your information. If you apply for the same company and you apply for 5 different jobs, it's kind of a red flag. So I saw someone say, yo, keep a track of it so you can kind of understand why you get rejected. That's not what happens. So two tips I'm going to give tonight. If you apply for a job with a company, one, if it's a different role, use a different email address. Most of us have at least 2 or 3 email addresses. Make sure you use the different email address every time you apply. So I do agree, you should keep track of jobs and then at least the email that you use. So if you apply for a different role, you can use a different email. Most applicant tracking systems are not going to match your name. They just match emails. So that would be my first tip. My second tip is something that I spoke on months ago, is that when you apply to these companies and you get the Dear John letter, like, oh, you know what, you didn't get the job. All right. It's not the end of the world. As a matter of fact, if you get a Dear John letter, go click on the link again, make sure the job is closed. And if the job is closed, reach out to the recruiter on the job and say, hey, when you looked at my resume, what made you guys not move forward? Most recruiters, they will not put anything in writing, right? So like if they're like, hey, we actually wanted a 5'11" blonde woman to work the role, they're not going to tell you that. But most of them will say, hey, if you would have had X, Y, and Z, this would have made your resume stronger. Okay, so now you know for next time, because there's a good chance if a company hires for one role, they're going to hire for that role again. So I always tell you guys to make sure you reach out to the recruiter after the job closed and say, hey, I know you guys rejected me. What was the reason that you guys decided not to move forward? That'll strengthen your resume so you'll know what that company looking for in the future, especially if you're applying for to the same company over and over and over again, right? You want to work, I live in Charlotte, right? You want to work for such and such banking company, right? Make sure you use different resumes for different roles, but 2, after that role closed, always feel free to reach out to the recruiter and say, hey, what made you guys not move forward? A lot of people tell you to move forward, to try it prior. I don't really recommend prior, because a lot of times you'll find someone that's not associated to the role and try to reach out to them, and then that just becomes a disaster. You kind of pissing the recruiter off. But talent acquisition tip of the night, keep a track of the roles you applied for. Use different emails if they're in different departments. And when that role closes, make sure you reach out to the recruiter and say, hey, what would have made my resume stronger? Not why you didn't pick me. Okay, for the love of God, do not ask that question. But do feel free to ask, hey, like, what were you guys looking for that I didn't have on my resume? That's a legitimate question. Like, wait, what are you guys looking for? And most recruiters will tell you, like, all right, I'm going to tell you what we're looking for. Hey, appreciate everybody that's hopped on tonight. Again, I'm running a little bit late. I was actually out, a little Cuban restaurant, cigars on the patio, real nice spot. Really nice. If you're in Charlotte, hit me up. We can definitely hit that out on a Wednesday night. Well, maybe not on a Wednesday night, because I got to come on the lives, but we can definitely probably hit it up on like a Tuesday night. But I was out there, ended up speaking to a brother, and we were speaking on establishing custody and the things that it takes to establish custody. I'm not going to rehash that, because I just spent the last 2 hours talking about it. But what we are going to jump into tonight is everybody, gents and the ladies, are sending me the Aisha Curry clip. Everybody wants to talk about this clip, and I don't know if my point of view is going to surprise y'all. if you've listened to the pod long enough, you probably know what I'm about to say. But before we start that clip, though, I'm going to play another clip for you from the, I want to say this is the Giving podcast. I forget the lady's name. My bad on this. But she's from the Giving podcast. That's not who's posting.
Make that decision. I love that for you. Period. But there are certain things that.
But let's listen to her.
And we live in this invert.
God, if I can do this right.
Saying this, I feel like a lot of women have forgotten their place. And we live in this inverted world. And I feel we got stuck in this whole feminism thing. Feminism is a scam. And now it's like trying to undo. It is. Feminism, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, we are equal in value, but we are not equal in traits. We are different. Men and women are different.
I agree with that.
And I'm so sick and tired of why are we fighting to be something that we're not? I am not a man. I will never be a man. And for those of you that make that decision, I love that for you. Period. But there are certain things that are just, y'all are stronger than we are. We are more detail oriented than you are. There are certain traits that we naturally got from God based on the gender that we are. And it's all based on survival. It's all based on human nature. And so I feel like a lot of women, not all women, but most women have forgotten their place.
Within themselves,
within the order of family, within the order, even like with God. You know, if you just want to start blanketing statements, like, now this is the thing. If you are a masculine woman, that's fine. But stop acting like you're feminine. If you want to be a boss, babe, I don't need no man. You go do you, boo. But stop teaching that that's the answer. Because I'm sick and tired of this divide of the family. I'm sick and tired of now good men, like, and I'm listening to like stories, right? Good men are getting lazy in dating. They're getting lazy in the pursuit because women are making either everything too easy or they're too hands off. So now what's the point in even trying to date a woman when you're the man that you want me to be? Honestly, and I'm probably going to get you a lot for saying this, I feel like a lot of women.
I played this before I played the Aisha Curry clip. Now, this clip did not end up in my algorithm. It should have, but it did not. Well, my homegirl sent this to me because she knows that I'm probably one of the first publicly speaking anti-feminists out there, right? So she sent this clip to me. And again, she's from the Just Giving podcast. You can go find her, or it might be the Giving podcast. And she says two things here. But one of the things that what I want to stress here is that, you know, the brother tried to give her an out, right? Like he tried to be like, you know, well, I mean, we're different, right? That's not what she was saying, right? This is a woman that has came to the realization that feminism is 100% a scam. And she says that at the beginning. I think I clipped in, you know, I clipped out after the beginning. But matter of fact, let's go back to the comment because this comment stayed out here. 100% a scam. And she says that at the beginning. I think I clipped. Hold on. I clipped out after. Let me see if I can find it. I want y'all to read this comment right here. All right. I don't know if y'all can see this, right? But this is LX1111. Love you, bro, but she sounds ridiculous. The patriarchy got her bad, right? Fire 100 says down bad, right? Billy Teen says she's just lazy. Spot on, all right? So the reason why I'm playing this is, before we play the Aisha Curry clip, is that some of the ladies are waking up, right? I have always told you guys that one of the reasons why I vehemently disagree with feminism, and this is someone that took women's studies their first semester in college and realized that, like, oh, crap, a lot of these women aren't asking for equality, right? They're asking for servitude, right? They want to be elevated beyond men. Easiest way to figure this out is if you ask the question, all right, what's the role of a man? Right? Like if you can 100% ask anybody in the world that speaks English, right? Hey, tell me what's the role of a man, right? They're going to tell you, oh, the role of a man is to provide and protect. All right. If you was to ask that same question, all right, what's the role of a woman? You're going to get about 10 seconds of silence. And then they're going to mention some BS about nurturing, right? It's going to, and the reason why I say some BS about nurturing is because The true definition of nurturing is something growing. You're feeding it. You're taking care of it. There's no reciprocation from nurturing. Zero reciprocation, right? In husbandry, if you was to grow a tree, right? If you was to take an acorn, plant it in the ground. If you, for somehow, you're so good as an agricultural specialist, right? Horticulturalist, you can make that acorn spring. You're going to be taking care of that acorn until it becomes an oak tree, right? Which would take decades, not years, decades. There's no reciprocation from that, right? There's a duty in husbandry. There's a duty, right? And anything that's your role that requires duty, there's no reciprocation. There's no payback. There's no payoff. There's an old African proverb that goes, men learn the true nature of life when he plants a tree that he will never get shade from. Right? That's duty. Right? When a man plants a tree, right, that means that you've gotten yourself to a point in life where there's more behind you than in front of you. But you still understand that you have an obligation to provide for others in the future, right? A man learns the true meaning of life when he plants a tree that he will never receive shade from, all right? That is the role, for the most part, of being a man. That's the role, right? Some of us learn that, to early in life, to whereas we'll plant that tree and we will receive shade from it. But a lot of us as men, we learn that lesson late, right? Some men refuse to take on the task. They refuse to take on the duty. I'm not doing that. I'm not planting a tree that I will never get shade from. But there's a large subset of men that are like, I will plant that tree, right? For others, right? Not even maybe not even people that you're related to, right? But someone else is going to benefit from what I'm doing here today. That is the role of men. One of the things that I also did not show y'all that the comments on that post was limited, right? Anytime I see a post and the comments are limited, I know that the comments was coming in trash, right? Or at least anti whatever the OP intended. If you go and look at a lot, you can go through the Giving podcast and you can look through a lot of her content. A lot of her content, people say they're pro male. It's not really pro male. It's a woman that is in her mid 30s that kind of realized the way that life is going. She's being realistic. But one of the things that I love that she says in this is like, feminism haven't really benefited women in the sense of equality to men, right? Feminism has kind of put women in this place where they are in opposition. They're in an adversarial nature against men. If you've listened to this podcast for the last 5 years, I've always told y'all I'm not a fan of feminism, right? I'm a fan of masculinity and I'm a fan of femininity, right? And one of the things that they say in here that I vehemently disagree with, I don't believe that there's any notion that a man is feminine or a woman is masculine. I believe that there is a lack of masculinity. When you look at a man and you think that he's feminine, it's not that he's feminine. He just lacks masculinity. When you look at a woman and you say, hey, she's masculine. No, she's not masculine. She just lacks femininity. Okay? That's Pastor Mike Will take. All right? It's not social scientist take per se. But I played that clip because we're going to talk about Aisha Curry, because everybody keeps sending me this Aisha Curry clip. And I think everyone thinks that I have a position on this Aisha Curry clip that I really don't have, right? Because I am of the firm believer that everybody's marriage is different. I don't think that the same way that I don't think that there's a parenting, rule book that everybody has to follow. It's the same way I don't think that there's a marriage rule book that everybody has to follow, because we're human. And one of the biggest complaints that I have, and I don't have many, but one of the biggest complaints I have is when someone has a marriage and they're like, my marriage is good, so you should do what I did in my marriage. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. Because what those people never tell you is everything that they had to endure, the consequences that they had to suffer from, and the lessons that they have learned, right? They tell you to look at the good, right? And I'm a proponent of marriage. I am not anti-marriage. I am not red pill. If you listen to this pod long enough, I tell y'all, I believe that men need women. I believe that women need men. But when everyone keeps sending me this Aisha Curry clip, and I'm going to play it. Matter of fact, let's play it right now. Let's play it right now. Give me a sec here.
Drove back to LA after he started his junior year of college. He had like a big decision to make because he had a year left. He had a senior year left. So it was like, do I stay? Do I go? It was like a torment for him. He called me like crying behind a tree. Like, I don't know what to do.
You didn't need to say that. You didn't need to say that he was crying behind a tree. It's not. See, why am I laughing? Because it's not a good picture. You should leave that out if you're going to be on such a public platform. How many viewers does this podcast have? 1.73 million subscribers. I don't care if it was 173 subscribers. I don't care if it was 17.3 subscribers. It's not something that these are the kinds of things you just don't put out on the internet. Okay. Just because it's your experience doesn't mean you need to share it and stuff that's making him look. But now if he was on the podcast and he wanted to share that part of the story, go for it. But that's something that it's like, just keep that to yourself. Now, I think people just have different opinions about that, right? Like some people really prioritize being able to share their truth, their experience, and they'll do it regardless, like no matter what. And because they value that so much, where some of us actually value something more like dignity. I think it's a value difference. Some people are they're like, I'm just being authentic. To what extent? Because if your authenticity now is overstepping into my dignity, this is my story. This is part of my story. I know we shared the story, but I'm the one you're talking about, the one behind the tree crying. I am not someone who's going to say, well, at least you were being real. It's not me. I don't value authenticity to that degree, but some people put it on a pedestal and say, I can say anything, do anything, as long as I'm being for real, as long as I'm being real. And that's not my stance. I'm like, no, there's a limit to how much you can be authentic, especially when I'm the one involved. I'm involved.
I remember I drove back to LA after he started his junior year of college. He had like a big decision to make because he had a year left. He had a senior year left. So it was like, do I stay? Do I go? It was like a torment for him. He called me like crying behind a tree. Like, I don't know what to do.
You didn't need to say that. You didn't need to say that he was crying behind a tree. It's not. See, why am I laughing? Because it's not a good picture. You should leave that out if you're going to be on such a public platform. How many viewers does this podcast have? 1.73 million subscribers. I don't care if it was 173 subscribers. I don't care if it...
All right. So my opinion on this, all right. I honestly don't think Steph Curry cares. I don't. I think that plays into what Aisha Curry is doing. And look, to be fair, I'm be honest. If I was worth $300 to $1 billion, $300 million to $1 billion, I'll be honest, I would not be on social media. I wouldn't. I would not have a clue what is being said about me. And I think that's what Steph Curry is. I don't think he has a clue. So I don't think that he cares, right? His wife does have a clue. And she does care. Okay? This is one of the complaints this is the thing. I don't think Aisha Curry, follow what I'm saying here before I say it, I need you to follow me. Okay? I don't think Aisha Curry is doing anything wrong in her relationship with her and Steph. I don't think she's doing anything wrong, right? I think the problem is that men look at Steph Curry, right? And we say, hey, this is somebody that has kind of done it the right way, right? He wasn't highly recruited in high school, right? He was a top 500 player in the country, which 500 out of how many seniors graduate every year? 50,000, 100,000. So he's elite, right? But he wasn't really seen as elite. You know, he wasn't a top 100 player, right? Only had a walk-on offer at Virginia Tech. That's because his dad played there. Had a full scholarship from Davidson, probably because the coach ended up seeing him playing at the school that he was playing at. Offered him a full ride. Bust his butt his freshman year, his sophomore year, junior year, right? Became an elite NBA prospect because by his senior year he was, right? I don't know if y'all remember the Final Four, not the Final Four, Sweet 16 with Davidson in it that year, right? Phil 64, Steph Curry, LeBron James showing up to the game, right? So Steph Curry represents men that have put in the work. Right? Men that have not won, right? But they put in the work. And as men, there's a expectation that if I put in the work, there's going to be an appreciation and a gratitude for anybody that receives a benefit from my work, right? Not from the world, but just from people that has benefited from my work, right? My parents, my school, my coach, my teammates, my girlfriend, right? You receive benefits from what I have accomplished. So I think in a sense, men look at themselves and they look at, and it's more than just Steph Curry, right? It's Michelle Obama saying, hey, Barack Obama had a car that had holes in the floor, right? It's Remy Ma saying, hey, Papoose came and saw me every week, that I was in prison, right? And even then, right, when you do everything, right, like, hey, I'm coming down here every week to see you when you're in prison. Hey, I can't afford to provide the lifestyle that you wanted to provide, Miss Obama, but I did become president of the United States. So now I'm able to give you everything that you want. Miss Aisha Curry, you're my first love, which is saving her, if I'm being honest. I became the greatest shooter of all time, right? What men are saying now is, if I accomplish the pinnacle of what it means to be in my field, right? Now, Papoose did not reach the pinnacle, right? But he is a rapper. Yeah, he's a successful rapper, right? But Barack Obama, Steph Curry, right? What men are saying is like, yo, what the heck is going on that I can reach the top of my field? And then my woman tells me like, yeah, I'm still unhappy. And that is throwing guys off. And fairly so. Fairly. That is throwing men off. That's fair. Okay? And it's one of the reasons why I tell men that what you're looking for when you with a woman isn't really your accomplishment. What you can accomplish and have accomplished, I'm gonna be honest, fellas, it doesn't matter to women. It matters in the sense of you can provide a lifestyle. It matters in the sense of she gets to be with you and get to tell her friends I'm with this great guy. But if she does not hit the arc, right? Adoration, respect, celebration. If you do not receive that, if a woman does not hit the arc, you are 100% going to continually end up in the situation that you see amazing men end up in. And as men, most of us aren't amazing men. We're great men, even. We're good. But most of us aren't really the top half percentile of what the expectation is. Hey, y'all let me know if I'm frozen. KOS, I saw you just came in. Let me know if I'm frozen. Everywhere else says that I'm good.